I'm so excited to be with you. I forgot my opening line. I just did an interview the other day too.
It's all
uh,
right. It's all right, Chris. You're a pro. You
I
got this.
I know. Hey everyone, this is Chris Grosso with the Healing Journey web series presented by Toivo by Advocacy Unlimited. I am delighted to have my very special guest today, Miss Alanna Kaivalya. Alanna, hello.
Hello.
So before we get into some chit chat, I want to read your bio quickly to let the audience know all about the exciting things that you've done in your life. Ready? Alanna believes yoga is for everyone, and each student can develop the self-empowerment needed to embark on a personal journey to meaningful transformation. On this principle, she founded the Kaivalya Yoga Method, a fresh take on yoga emphasizing the individual path while honoring tradition. Teaching students since 2001, teachers since 2003, Alanna has written and developed teacher trainings worldwide for top studios and independently. In January, she debuted a comprehensive 200-hour online teacher training with yoga download. She holds a PhD in mythological studies. That must be nice to hear. With an emphasis in depth psychology from Pacifica Graduate Institute. She's authored numerous articles and 2 books, Myths of the Asanas, an accessible practitioner's guide to stories behind beloved poses, and Sacred Sound, a yoga, I'm reading hymnals, I'm reading yoga, a yoga hymnal illustrating the role of chant and mantra in modern practice. Look for her 3rd book, Yoga Beyond the Mat, in autumn of 2016. Alanna lives in New York City with Roxy the Wonder Dog, or Dr. Roxo, as I like to call her.
That's right.
Dude, I didn't know you had a 3rd book. That's
Yeah, man.
awesome. When
Thank you.
2016.
Yeah, October actually is when it's
Wow.
due out.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
we'll add that to the list of what we're going to talk about today.
Okay.
You,
Fantastic.
um, I don't know. We could go so many different directions. For the audience, I was telling Alana before we started, I'm excited for these kinds of conversations, especially when it's with a friend. And Alana is a dear friend of mine. And when we were just realizing we actually haven't talked in roughly a year, which
Too
sucks.
long.
Too long.
Yeah.
But that's what happens with adults. You have, adult lives. And but anyway, so
Are we
we,
adults?
all right. What do I say? I'm an 11-year-old, so
Yeah,
no, I guess
right.
it doesn't count. But so we've got plenty of catching up to do, and I figure let's just do it on this show and talk a bit about what you're doing, talk a bit about whatever comes up. But let's start. Let's start, I guess, with Alanna in the early years. Early Alanna. I'm picturing '80s Alanna right now.
Nice. The hair was almost as big.
So I,
Back in the day when everyone else was using a crimper, I didn't have to.
you didn't have to.
Yeah, it was
Very
fantastic.
lucky. Well, so what's coming to mind for me actually, Lana, is something I think I might have even written about this, and I know we've joked about it a lot, but one of the first times we really hung out together was when we performed together at Yoga Journal Conference in Estes Park.
Yeah, true.
And yeah, we'd met maybe only once before that in New York City
Yeah,
or twice.
I think that's right. I think that we like were chatting on like this, like Skype
Right,
and
right.
running ideas by each other. And I
Yeah.
remember that one time we tried to practice music via Skype. That didn't work.
No, we couldn't hear each other. Such a true story. Oh my God.
Like
Yeah,
there was a
because
slight delay and it was like totally screwing both of
oh,
us
it's
up.
terrible. Yeah,
It was
because
awful.
before that performance, I don't think we'd actually really practiced
We had
together.
never practiced together.
No, so we literally just walk into Yoda Journal, and our first time playing together was
Yeah,
there. Yeah,
yeah,
okay, I thought that was right.
yeah.
Well, so anyways, what I do remember besides that, that was a great trip, by the way, getting to see the was it the Stanley Hotel that the Shining
Yeah, the
is based
Stanley
on?
Hotel. Remember that drum set we finagled for you?
That it was so bad. It was
It
so
was
out of
like this
tune.
ghetto old school children's drum set.
Ah, it was terrible.
You made it
But
look good though, Chris.
we
What can I say?
had we had fun though, right? We
Oh, for
pulled it
sure. Are you
off.
kidding me? We always have a good time.
We pulled and we went on right after Rod Stryker's keynote, if I remember correctly.
That's a good memory. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a good memory.
Well,
I'm sure he laid it down.
yeah, he did. I remember
Set the
appreciating it.
stage perfect for our
Yeah,
shenanigans.
he was a good opening act, no
Yeah.
doubt about it. But all right, so what I remember, going back to like your early years, is
Okay.
we like to rib with one another and have
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah, it was actually really hard for me to sit through you reading my bio.
Was it really?
Yeah, it really was.
Okay, I'm glad you say that because I can't stand it when people read my bios in interviews
It's
or when
really
I present. It's
Yeah,
rough, right?
it is. It is. And I just wanted you to like break up laughing or like give me a hard time about something. I was like,
I
like I have to sit through this and pretend to take him seriously. This is really hard.
okay, then we're at that level. Now I know. I wanted to try to convey some semblance of,
Oh, I appreciate it.
professionalism, but no. All
The
right,
audience
let's
at home.
if we're going to go there, let's go there. Let's not half-ass this thing.
No way. We've got to keep it real.
All right, so if we're going to keep it real, you pick me up at the airport in Denver, maybe? Is that where
Yep.
the airport was? Okay, so you pick me up in your rental car. We're driving, and we know each other, but we're still kind of getting to know one another at this point.
Yeah.
And jokingly, or at least half jokingly, you say to me, and this is not verbatim, but I know I think I read about this in indie spirituals, but you're like, you know, you little shit, like you ride in here and it's your first time ever at a yoga journal conference and you're performing and you're like, I remember, I think you said it was like, correct me if I'm wrong, but maybe 10 years ago or something like that. It was like, I scrimped and saved to afford being able to come to one of these. And here I am,
Yeah.
you've worked your ass off to get there and teach and have a nice established relationship. And then I'm like, I don't know what yoga journal is. And you're like, you idiot. Like,
I think that's pretty much how the conversation went.
it's
Yeah.
pretty much like that, right?
Yeah.
But I think that that's a fair way to at least set up. So let's talk a little bit about like you getting into yoga because what I do know about you, all kidding aside, is you are probably the most passionate yoga teacher I know. I know that you are. It's a heart calling for you, no doubt about it. So let's. I guess we can be a little serious, but let's talk a little bit about what brought you to yoga and feel free to go in any direction regarding yoga you'd like.
Yeah,
And
sure.
so
I originally started it in college actually. And I was studying physics at the time. So my brain was really shut off and really closed to anything alternative, anything spiritual. I really wasn't really raised with any religion
yeah.
or spirituality. There was definitely some interesting exploration happening in high school, but I think by the time I got to college, I was like, yeah, that's not for me. And a good friend of mine had been pushing me to try yoga for like a year, honestly. And I said to him at one point, I remember I was like, what am I going to do? Learn to lick my back? Like, how is that going to help me? This is not practical. Come on. There's no science behind this. And he said, no, no, just try, just try. Well, I had gotten to the point where I'd really exhausted all the other options with my thyroid disorder, and I'd gotten really frustrated. I was going to the gym, and I was gaining weight. I was being blamed for sneaking food because I was gaining weight. I was down
Wow.
to an 800 calorie a day diet. I didn't understand the condition that I have, which is an autoimmune disorder. I didn't understand how it worked, and there really wasn't that much support back then around this.
Yeah.
And so I was at the end of my rope when I finally was like, fine, I will go to a yoga class just to prove you wrong. And, sure as shooting, I went to the class and basically I never walked out. I felt different from that first experience. And I was very, very lucky on a couple of counts. At the same time that I started my yoga practice, I'd enrolled in a college course. When you go to college, you do your major, but you also have to do all these stupid required courses that you're like, oh, I don't like this.
Yeah.
I don't want to do that. Well, one of the required courses, or at least it fulfilled a requirement, was a Religions of South Asia course.
Ah.
Yeah. So at the exact same time I was learning the asana postures, I was also learning the mythology and the religion of Hinduism. And so I was hearing the names of the poses and I was learning the stories behind them right at the same time. And I think that something just really clicked in me, that there was something bigger going on here. I knew I felt different, and I do have um, anything I'm interested in. I want to know as much as possible about it. Well, yoga is like an endless black hole. There's no way I could know everything. So, here I am 15, 16 years later, and I'm still really into it.
Really into it. Honing your craft continuously.
Yeah.
So let's talk about the training you're doing then. I know because as I mentioned, we haven't talked in a while, but
Yeah.
going back years ago, I know you were, tirelessly, just endlessly working on this thing on and on and on. It's so nice for me to hear it's completed.
Yeah.
So
Thanks.
yeah, congratulations.
Thank you.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, so I've been working on teacher trainings for over a decade now.
Yeah.
I started working on them in like 2003, and I've written several, five, I think, five or six,
Wow.
and some for the biggest companies in the country.
Mm.
And then, of course, I wrote my own and I led my own, and all of those years, I just kept thinking to myself, I know I can do better, honestly. I know I can do better. I know I can teach people better. I know that I can create something that has a higher standard, a higher bar than what we're currently reaching for as a yoga community. And I got really frustrated with not being able to assess people correctly, not being able to see them all teach, forcing them through a curriculum in a certain amount of time, trying to jam 10 hours of teaching in a day when people are missing things. You
Oh
know that
yeah.
that's an exhausting way to learn. And while I do believe in an immersive yoga experience and I do think it's transformative, I also really believe that people have to know what they're doing. And sometimes that immersion format doesn't really allow things to stick as much as I would have liked them to. Plus, I remember going through several trainings where I didn't get to know everybody's name.
Wow.
It happens so fast, and sometimes the trainings have more people in them than you can really manage. And so I did the best job I could, of course, but I knew several years back I was like, I need to take this online.
Mm.
And it's honestly what's interesting about it is, I love challenging the trend and doing
which
things differently.
which we're gonna talk about. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it's not a popular thing right now
Yeah.
necessarily to take yoga education online, but I want to show everybody that it is possible. I mean, you can get a degree from some of the most well-respected institutions in the country
Mhm.
online nowadays, and the reason for that is because the technology is there.
Yeah.
I couldn't do this 3 years ago because the technology wasn't there, and now it is. So I'm actually using the same kind of software that colleges and universities use
Mm.
to do this online training and deliver it. It has over 100 hours worth of video content. I spent 12 months in the making of this and the process of this. I literally have thrown everything I can at this training and I've left nothing out because I have the time to do so.
Yeah.
In a live format, you have to allow time for practice teaching, to go back over things, for people missing stuff. I don't have to allow for that here. So I give people everything they need and they get to go through it at their own pace.
Wow.
Not to mention, I have a team of mentors who supports them every step of the way. The students upload videos of themselves teaching, delivering Dharma talks, doing adjustments, going through their practice, teaching people, and we get to actually see that every step of the way. We get to see their videos and we offer individualized feedback for how they can grow specifically. And at the very end, everybody has to teach an hour-long class, and we get to see that.
Wow.
So it's really exciting, and there's a lot of interactivity built within the system to maintain the sense of community that you get at a regular yoga teacher training and at an in-studio training. So I've worked very hard to lose nothing, to sacrifice nothing in this process, and I really look forward to getting this more out there in the community and showing people that this is really possible and that we've done a really great job.
Well, congratulations, because
Thank
I
you.
know that that has been a huge undertaking for
It
you.
has. Yeah.
I'm so glad to see it's finally come to fruition.
Thanks.
It sounds awesome. One thing, I think it's fair to say is, as I've already said, I know how passionate you are about this, but it's important also to mention I guess I'm going to say how seriously you take it, but I know like you do, how seriously you really do take it. And you've seen areas where there, what you would consider, there were some cracks, and you tried to fill those cracks with the
Mhm.
approach you're taking. And I remember even when you and I would perform together, in between the songs, like I would just kind of be there and listen, because you talk quite a bit about whatever
Yeah.
the song's about and the history behind it. And I remember, I would just sit there and look at you and I lose myself in what you were saying. And I'm really not like
Aw.
blowing smoke up your ass. Like I'm sharing like really like
It's all right. I'll take it.
this is how passionate you really are. Uh,
Thanks.
and yeah, and then it'd be like, all right, we're gonna play a song, and I don't know if you remember, there was one time we were at Kripalu, and you kind of like had to be like, you didn't do that, but you had to like really cue me back in because I was just gone. Um, but anyways, so it's just I feel it's important to share. Really, like you are you take things very seriously. You're a real smarty pants too. So I
Thanks.
appreciate that about you.
Thank you. Thank you. I'm also Susie homemaker today. I just made some muffins. So
Wonderful.
yeah,
Yes, you are a baker. You've
multitasking.
yes, you've made some lovely treats that I've had. So that's
Yep.
good.
You like treats.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you for that
Oh
compliment. I
yeah.
appreciate it.
Credit where it's due.
Thanks.
Um, so you started to allude a little bit to, and I guess we'll segue into this. I think something that kind of drew you and I together in the first place is we have a bit of a rebellious nature, you could
Absolutely.
say.
Yes.
Um, yeah, I know we both have a lot of integrity in what we do, and we take it seriously, and we don't like to mince words or get caught up in trends.
Mhm.
And you've been a very outspoken person regarding the current state of affairs in yoga in many
Yeah.
regards. And I believe one of the
Absolutely.
hashtags you're working with is yoga is broken. Is that
Correct.
correct? Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's talk about it. How is yoga broken?
Yeah. I
It's
know it's a bit of a heartbreaking sentiment. I mean, for me, it
yeah,
is because yoga obviously is something that I love so deeply, and I have been immersed for so long in it. And, um, I remember being just in awe of what was happening in the community and feeling so safe and held and so inspired. But a few years ago, I stopped feeling that way. And it took me a little while to figure out exactly what was wrong.
mm,
I was feeling like I didn't fit in. I was feeling um, like I wasn't pretty enough, like I wasn't smart enough, and gosh darn it, people didn't like me. And I was like, why do I feel bad about myself? Why do I feel like I'm not keeping up with the Joneses here? And then it suddenly hit me that like, wait a second, why do I have to?
mm,
Why is this that kind of scene at all? Why do I feel like bendy photos of asana on Instagram is the only thing that people are going to like about me?
mm,
And the industry has really shifted to be quite, it's the commodification of yoga.
right.
There's a real sales pitch behind yoga, and there's a real drive to build up the cult of personalities as opposed to the true quality of teaching and the quality of the experience that you can gain through the practice. And I've watched that shift happen, and it's been very uncomfortable. And so that's when I think it was about a year and a half ago or so that I came out with the yoga is broken.
Mm,
And I said, there are people out there who are looking for a deeper experience and who are interested in looking past the glossy veneer Instagram doctored photos of
right.
whatever is out there, and who actually want the yoga. And what I mean by that is the actual psycho spiritual experience of integration,
Right.
of connection with the self. That's what yoga is, and we're really missing that. So my doctorate work was almost entirely on figuring out how to essentially I don't want to use the word repackage. That's not right. But how to rethink or move forward or revision yoga for a modern day audience in such a way that it's no longer broken,
Mm,
that we have the tools that we need to create psycho spiritual integration, that we can all still be an individual and not follow a guru and not follow a dogma, but still follow the practices that actually work to help keep us connected to ourselves. And I know it's not sexy. It's not sexy. It's not going to be on the cover of any magazines,
yeah.
but it's real.
Right.
And I do believe that there are a great faction of people who are interested in the real practice. Not to say that people can't still get enjoyment out of their asana. Go, do it, have a great time. But when there's a readiness for something deeper, and whenever that feels as if it's missing, I really want to be there for people to find what they're looking for.
Yeah. Well, I think it would also be fair to say, and I don't think you disagree with this, that we could also use the hashtag in certain regards, spirituality is broken in that
Yeah,
context. Because as you're talking about yoga, I'm thinking about, I'm not going to name any names, but I'm just thinking about some things, when
yeah,
it comes to spirituality and some of what's going on in the
sure.
spiritual world these days.
Yeah, I don't want to name any names either,
Yeah,
but I I'll share a recent experience.
sure.
I was at a spiritual talk, and the person giving the lecture was selling something that felt good. Just feel good, just feel good, just feel good. And I thought to myself, well, that's really flippant advice. What if you feel like shit?
Yeah.
And what if this feel good that you're selling for 2 hours wears off in 3 hours and you haven't given people the actual tools that they need
Yes.
to turn their shit around and to work with what's happening now and to accept life experience, which isn't always sparkles and rainbows and butterflies.
Right.
What do you do then? Because it isn't always just about feeling good. I tell my students constantly that yoga does not make your life better.
Yeah.
Yoga makes you better at your life. It gives you the tools to be able to handle the shit when it hits the fan. And that's real and that's human. And that's what I want. I don't want to pretend like I'm having a great day every day. I don't want to pretend um, like I have something that people don't.
Mm.
They don't.
Yes. Yeah.
Just like them.
That's
We're all the same. We all have our karma to work with. We all have our stuff. We all have to make orange cranberry muffins in the middle of the day
yeah.
sometimes. We all have to deal with the dog. We all have fights with our partners.
Hmm.
We all don't take our own advice.
And that's hard for people such as yourself and myself in the positions we're in because I am the same exact way. I will
Yeah,
not ever try to sell anyone on anything. If anything, like I can be a bit too hard on myself when I write or when I do workshops, but I want to be as real and authentic as I can.
sure.
The trick is, though, a lot of people, not everyone, but a lot of people want to be sold on stuff. They want to, be told how to be happy. And
What a
of
quick
course,
fix.
yes, quick fix, McMindfulness. That's a word I hear often. Um, but
That is great. I've not
it's
heard that.
yeah, it's often used in the Buddhist circles.
That's
I'm a fan
excellent.
of, but it's pretty accurate too.
Yeah.
And part of the not part a big part of the problem. I was speaking with Jeff Brown. He's a great writer, and he calls this the new cage movement. That's his little term for it. And he has a real issue with what's happening with this quick fix, the band aid. And, at times where I've been outspoken about it, people have said, like, well, who are you to judge? And okay, fair enough. I can understand that. But at the same time, it's like people are going to do what they're going to do. If it gets their foot in the door, so what? To that, and I'll come back to you in one second. I just want to share what my friend Jeff said. He talks about one of his friends who had depression, just like you were talking about real life stuff happening, and
Yeah.
she got very involved in this kind of glossy, fancy spirituality, the band aid kind of spirituality, the very quick fix, not going deep and doing any of the work. And I wish I knew exactly what he had said. I don't know if it was a couple of years, 3 years, but enough time went by where obviously it wasn't having a real impact in her life, and she ended up committing suicide. And
Oh,
that's where it really shifted from. He was already against it, but he's a well respected writer, and he
yeah.
has a pretty well known voice. And
I know of his work. He's
yeah,
great.
he doesn't mince words about that. He has zero respect for it, and I of course side with him on that. Like,
Yeah.
so, anyways, you were gonna say,
No, I mean, I couldn't agree more. In fact, I've got tingling all over my body because it's so nice to talk to somebody who gets it and
yeah,
who I don't feel like I have to sell on it. And I'm not, my goal isn't to walk around like a little black cloud. Like, you got to do the work, you
right,
got to dig deep, but like to
right,
really just open people's eyes that the pushing away of your darkness doesn't make it go away.
right,
And in fact, accepting all things is how you bring everything into the light.
yeah,
So, um, I was going to say, as in a comment to you said, who am I to judge? Well, no, of course, we don't need to judge anybody else. And I'm glad for anybody who's able to get their foot in the door to this work any way they can.
right,
But we do have, I mean, there is a point at which you have a certain experience. And you know from experience that there is no band-aid.
yeah,
There is no quick fix. And I went through, in my early practice, even then, there were still, back in the day, even back then, when we
do,
were walking uphill both ways with no shoes.
Do you remember when? Hold on, just really quick. Do you
Yeah.
remember when we were playing at Wesleyan and you made a joke about Star Wars and no
Oh
one
my
knew what you were?
gosh.
No one got it.
They hadn't seen it. I was like, these people need to be fired. This is ridiculous.
Sorry, I didn't
Yeah,
mean to
I,
cut
I
you off, but
can't.
yeah,
Parents, please educate your children on the magic of Star Wars. Note to everyone now.
seconded. Yes.
Oh, so bad. Yeah, so anyway, my experience in the early days of my practice was that I was doing everything. I was doing the asana, I was doing the meditation, I was doing the pranayama, I was doing the kriyas, I was doing all sorts of crazy shit. And I was doing it to an extreme, and I kept doing it. I was doing it for longer periods of time. I was going to seek out more teachers for more information. And the reason why I kept pushing myself harder and harder and harder was because I wasn't feeling the benefit.
Mm.
I was just getting better at meditating over all the anger. I was
Yes.
getting better at putting on a glossy facade and not appearing to be an asshole.
Mm-hmm.
And on the inside, I was still dealing with all my stuff. I was still dealing with everything that was going on, and I felt like a failure. And I didn't want to admit that to anybody because I thought that this stuff should be working. Well, I thought at some point I figured, okay, I got to figure out what is going to work then. And that's really how I came around to my deeper studies in mythology and psychology and trying to, because frankly, everyone thinks that yoga is a silver bullet.
Mm.
Yoga fixes everything. Depressed? Yoga. Knee surgery? Yoga. Bad relationship? Yoga. Getting old? Yoga.
Yeah.
And it's supposed to fix everything, but yoga is not a silver bullet. And there's a lot of things that are missing. And there's just some stuff that when they wrote the texts 2,000, 1,500 years ago, they just didn't know about.
Mm.
They just didn't know about the unconscious. They just didn't know about the power of that work. They just didn't know that we were going to be speaking to people in a time and a place where A, primarily women were going to be practicing. B, we were going to be focused on individuality and not in the Eastern mindset of group mentality.
Mm.
Which, that's a real fundamental difference between East and West psychology. Betterment of the group or betterment of the individual.
Yeah.
And that's a huge, it's a square peg round hole issue with this practice because it's written for a different kind of psychology than we really have. I don't know that they expected or knew that we would have gurus taking such terrible advantage of their students.
Right. Yep.
Because of that power structure and that power difference. And we don't know how to handle it. We clearly don't have the right boundaries. We're not accredited. We don't have any kind of actual regulation against that kind of advantage being taken. So it happens all the time. So we have a different landscape right now than we ever have with this yoga practice. And we have to do something that works for us right now, as we are right now. So, anyway, yeah, it was the fact that that quick fix stuff, like even the practice, it just didn't work out for me.
Yeah.
So I had to figure it out.
And as you're saying that, I'm thinking back to as I share about very very candidly, I went through many years of my life in this cycle called an addiction.
Mm-hmm.
Getting sober, and I'd usually be clean for a year, year and a half, 9 months, whatever. And in that time, I'd be doing the work and doing some meditating and whatnot. But it was just like you said, that was such a good way of saying it, meditating over the anger. In my case,
Yeah.
meditating over the depression. But I
Right.
still wasn't really working with it. And inevitably, of course, every time I would turn back to the bottle or the drugs, and it would
Yeah.
get worse than the last time. And on the cycle went
Mhm.
until I really laid the bullshit aside and started really doing the work, started really like going within, started really getting raw and vulnerable with myself. Getting uncomfortable. It's not a pleasant experience. If you're
No,
not,
but it's necessary.
yes, exactly. And that's what I've learned. If it's not getting messy, nothing's happening.
Mm-mm.
And it's not that it's always messy. Like you said, it's not like that I walk around like a dark cloud all the time either. Because that's not the case.
Oh,
We're both 11-year-olds. We're both
yeah.
11.
At least.
At least. But I can be like that today in a way that's more authentic
Mm-hmm.
because I've worked through a lot of this stuff. And it's an ongoing process. This is like a long game kind of thing. It's not
Yeah.
an overnight fix. There's no such thing,
Well, the good news is too, is you get better at it.
Yes.
It
Yeah.
really, really, it is really hard at first. It just is.
Yeah.
There's no way to not make it hard. There's no way to get past that. It's just hard at first, but it becomes, I try to encourage people to make yoga their new normal.
Ah.
So that, this is the lens that you look out through the world every day and you see things from a different perspective and you see that, yeah, there is a certain kind of journey you have to go through and a certain kind of path you have to walk. And you do get crushed a little bit. It is painful a little bit. Sometimes you get hurt. Sometimes you have to have the hard conversations with yourself and others. But you've been through it enough times that you know that always leads to something better. You know that always allows you to get out of it. And if you don't have those hard conversations, if you don't walk through it,
Yeah.
Everybody, the thing is that everybody knows you're destined to do it again.
Yes.
You're
It's the
destined
way
to
that
stay
goes.
there or do it again. Everybody knows that. And yet
Yeah.
somehow they think that, ignorance is not bliss. It
No,
ain't.
no, it's not. But last night I had a phone call, and I don't want to go into specifics about it because it involves someone else. But what I will say is, got off the phone, and it just left me feeling all out of sorts. Like
Mm,
really, like my stomach was kind of churning, and I was like frustrated, and it was just like a whole world of sadness, anger, frustration. And I'm sitting there, and I remember almost laughing to myself at one point, as I kind of hit the eye of this storm, where I'm like, I'm watching all of it happen. I'm
yeah.
not getting caught up in it where I used to. But part of me started to kind of laugh to myself. It's like, I kind of wish I could. Like, I don't want to have to, like, go through this consciously or mindfully. Like, it'd be so much easier just to act out or to project it onto someone else.
Yeah.
And it's not that that's always the case, but more times than not these days I am aware of these things, and I don't. It's like riding a bike. Now I'm not
Yeah.
living from a reactionary place. So I was kind of kidding to myself about that, but it is almost annoying. I think of one of our favorite movies, The Matrix, where Joe Pantaleone is eating that steak, and he's like, I don't want to remember nothing. Like sometimes I don't want to
That's
remember
right.
nothing. But
Why, oh, why didn't I take the blue
that's
pill?
right, right?
Yeah.
But God damn it, I did, and there really is no going back at
There really
all.
is no
So
going back.
I wouldn't
But
have it any other way. But
no, I wouldn't either. And it is a constant practice, and it is something that people do need to choose every day and say yes to over and over. But you can't unknow stuff either.
yeah,
That's the work of it's like the work of the hero's journey. Once the
yeah.
hero starts on the path, you can't go back.
Yep.
It is, I don't know what to say. We have a lot of work to do.
Don't.
We have
It's
a lot of work to do.
yeah. It's like the person in recovery too. That once you've had a taste of sobriety, you can never use the same again. You can certainly use, but it will
Hmm.
never be that kind of guilt free. Like I don't know any better. It totally
Yeah,
ruins it. So yeah, I hear what you're saying.
but it does get better.
It totally gets better. If it
Yeah.
didn't, what would the point be?
How long are
Like
you sober for now?
I don't know. I actually don't even keep track anymore, to be honest.
Really? That's awesome.
Yeah, I it's a day by day. I actually had this conversation with someone the other day because to me, even though I don't act out with alcohol, I still will sometimes act out in the way I eat food.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, so what is sobriety really?
Yeah,
Like the alcohol and the drugs are just a symptom of what's happening. The food is just a symptom.
sure.
The turning on the TV to just zone out of my emotions. It's all a symptom. So I'm kind of in a process right now of exploring what recovery is, what sobriety really is. That's actually what I'm working on one of my books right now. So,
That's cool. That's cool. I mean,
so
it's lucky that you can't overdose on the gluten-free cookies, though.
they are good.
They
They
are
are good.
good.
They are
Tate's.
good.
Those are the ones I was trying to. Tate's
Tate's,
gluten-free cookies.
yeah.
They're unbelievable.
Well, if they're the ones I've had when I've been with you, then yes,
Yeah.
they're very good. Um, so I don't know, man. I don't know. There's tons of things we can talk about. I want to talk about your books. We kind of already talked about kirtan. I don't know. I mean, we could talk all day about ridiculous stories around that, but
Totally.
um, yeah, let's talk a little bit about your books. So, I mean, Myths of the Asanas was your first book,
Yep.
and then Sacred Sound, and then Yoga Beyond the Mat. So, walk me through the three of them.
Yeah. So the first one, I mean, my introduction, like I said, to yoga was the mythology with the asana at the same time. So that's, and again, I think I was really lucky. I feel really great about that. That I knew the kind of the history and the stories of the poses, and it was something that I'd always shared with students. And they always asked me, well, where can I find this? Where can I find these stories? And there really wasn't a resource.
Mm.
I had to go find them in all of the, random texts of yoga.
Mm.
And that search isn't easy. Luckily, I like research and I had some spare time on my hands at the time.
Right on.
So I thought I'd pull it together. And it actually is people love this book. It's been selling incredibly well and very consistently for now 6 years, which
Yeah,
is awesome.
that's really cool.
I just taught at the Yoga Journal conference this last weekend in New York, and
Oh,
it sold
nice.
out in the first day.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm really proud of it. It's a great book.
It
And
it
then
is. Yes.
yeah, thanks.
Yeah.
And then the next one is it took that work a little further, and gave people the history or the stories behind the mantras or the chants that we do.
Mhm.
Because, of course, I love sound and I love music, and I've been a kirtan performer for 13 or 14 years. And I love to educate people. I want them to know what they're saying and the power behind that and the actual, can I use the word archetype?
Use it. You just did. Oh, hey, I can't hear you. Oh, there you are.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I
No,
think
that's it.
I'm holding my computer on my lap. I must have like just held the
Uh,
microphone. But yeah, it points people to the archetypes and gives them a little more structure for understanding whatever it is that they might be going through. So I think that the myths are incredibly helpful in that way. The second book was super challenging because I decided to use the correct Sanskrit.
I remember it when you were going through that as
Oh my
well.
God.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wanted to be accurate.
Yep.
I do definitely have an academician side,
You
and
do.
so I didn't want to mince things for people and do a crappy job of just, writing the anglicized version of things, and I'll never do that again.
It wasn't until I read Sacred Sound that I understood why you and I think the only one time in our lives we've ever had, I wouldn't even say an argument, but it was a disagreement, was
Yeah.
when we were in your apartment. It was because I pronounced a word incorrectly, and I don't remember what it was.
Yeah.
But you were like, you corrected me, and I was like, whatever. And then you
Yeah,
were
and I was like,
so,
but actually, it's a
yeah.
thing. Yeah.
And after reading it, it's like, okay, now I understand where she's coming from. Because at the time,
Uh,
you know me, it's like, whatever. But no, I get it. And again, that goes back to your passion, and then
Thanks.
seeing how much work goes into it, and not only the work, but what you're actually talking about, and the reality behind these sounds, and the correct
Yeah.
pronunciation is pretty incredible. So
Well, thanks.
yeah, no, it's just yeah.
That's really sweet, Chris. I appreciate that.
Yeah,
It is, and I mean, there are reasons to pronounce it correctly and there's
yeah,
reasons not to. Like this weekend when I'm teaching, I don't always say all the Sanskrit super, super accurately because I don't want to feel like I don't want to disenfranchise people or make them feel like they're wrong about it, but
sure,
then I slip in the very correct version so that they can hear what that sounds like and hopefully introduce and integrate just a little more, just education. Like I said,
yeah,
passionate about education. As long as you know the stuff, you can do what you want with it.
right,
But I definitely want you to know. So that was the second book. And the third one is a result of all my dissertation work. It's all the intense study I've been in. I honestly feel like I've been in a cave for
mm.
the last year and a half. Because partly because I felt this yoga is broken thing, and I was like, I'm not sure how I fit in to
hmm
this. And I then at some point realized, well, I have to do it on my own. I have to recreate my own place. I have to make my own place where I fit
yeah,
and put that out there and be really authentic about it. And that work took about a year and a half to pull together. So the book will be out in October. It's with Llewelyn.
cool, yeah,
And it's Yoga Beyond the Mat, how to make yoga your spiritual practice. And I present people with a really clear, applicable roadmap for making yoga their new normal and creating a state of psycho-spiritual integration through practices that they essentially tweak to make their own.
mm.
It's all personalized. This isn't a one size fits all cookie cutter experience.
Yeah,
This is an opportunity for people to explore all the different types of practices that will help them and get them to a deeper place and a deeper connection within themselves from every angle, from going out with your friends to the way that you attach yourself to your family, to the way that you look at your partner, to some asana, to a lot of work with the chakras, to a yoga nidra experience, to meditation, to a trick to actually reframing your mind and getting yourself over your bullshit.
mm.
So I provided, I think there's like 38 or 40 specific exercises.
Wow.
Yeah. And it takes you all the way through from the most external practices to the most internal practices.
That's really cool.
Yeah, thanks.
I just became, I've known of Llewellyn as a publishing company, but I never really followed their stuff because I know, or at least from what I knew, they were more into the tarot aspect of publishing.
Yeah, they publish beautiful decks.
Right, yeah, lots, and I know my wife has plenty of them. But that's something that's never been a particular interest to me. But it seems like lately, um, they've been. Well, I should say I got my first tarot deck, and I started
You
learning.
did.
I did. I wish
Which one did you get?
I don't remember because I haven't looked at it since I got it. It's really badass. Like,
Of course.
that's the only reason I got it was because it was like
Funny.
these really crazy looking things, and I'm like, all right, well, if I'm going to explore this, this is like, this is my encouragement to do
Yeah,
so.
that's great.
I'll send you what it is. It's in the bedroom. I can't unfortunately pause our interview to go grab it,
That's
but
okay.
it's a really cool deck. Anyways, but and the more I started exploring that and Young's relationship to it, I saw, like, wow, there's some real stuff here. I
It's
unfortunately
real stuff.
I got caught up in the very naive, like, whatever
Mhm.
tarot. But anyways, it is very fascinating. And that to say, though, back to Llewelyn, it's cool, like, because they published a friend of mine, Amy Scher's book. She's represented by our agent, and now your book, and now I'm working on a book with them with Jarvis Masters.
Yeah.
So I wonder if they're trying some new stuff. Well, it looks like they're trying some new
Yeah,
stuff
I
out,
think
but
that they are. That's awesome. I
yeah.
do know that they published Anadea Judith's book, Wheels of Light on the Chakras. And
Oh,
that, of
okay.
course, has been
Yeah.
kind of a solid one on the bookshelf for a really long time. So
Yeah.
they've definitely been out there publishing in our realm. And
Yeah.
I'm super excited to be with them, super excited to work with them.
Yeah, yeah, me too. I haven't gotten
Yeah.
too far into the process, but the woman I've been working with is pretty cool. I'm flying out actually. This will be interesting. I'm flying out in a couple of weeks to go meet Jarvis. And for anyone in the audience who doesn't know him, he's a inmate on San Quentin's death row.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm making the trip out there,
That's
and
amazing.
yeah, we've actually been friends for over 4 years, but I've never
Yeah.
had the chance to go visit him. So yeah, I'm flying out, and it'll be, I can't wait to meet him. I know it'll be hard seeing him in that situation, someone I care about so deeply. But anyways, good on you, Llewellyn, for publishing our books. Way to go.
Yay, Llewelyn.
Yeah. So I know we got about 5 minutes left.
Okay.
Something really important that just came to mind that I need to ask you about. It's very important.
Oh, God.
What do you think about Han Solo dying?
You just go right. You just cut me right to the quick,
Did you
didn't
uh
you?
did you
You
see it?
saved it. Of course, I saw it.
I mean,
Did I?
no, I know you saw it, but did you
Oh,
see it coming? Because I know you saw it later than most of us. So was it spoiled for you, or was it still a
I
surprise?
I did see it later than most of us, and I will live forever with that shame of not seeing it
Well,
an
you and
earlier
my
day.
brother. You and my
I
brother.
will. It was a complicated time. I was defending my dissertation, getting engaged. It was the holidays, and I live in New York City. They were all sold out. Anyway, look, I
Uh,
won't make excuses for myself.
I was up till actually 1 a.m. a month in advance buying my tickets. So I
Oh,
don't know what you're
see,
saying.
you're clearly the bigger fan.
All right, as long as we have that established.
It hurt to say that. Um, I see it coming. I guess when I was in the film, I did see it coming, and after it happened, I thought to myself, they really had to do that.
Yeah.
They really had to do that in order for the continued story to work.
Hmm.
I mean, as much as obviously all of us want to keep Han Solo around forever and ever, amen.
Yeah.
Um, you have to have something catalyze a hero's growth, and I'm assuming that our young hero, what's the actor's name? I know him from Girls, but he's a
Oh,
brilliant young actor.
he is incredible,
Isn't
right?
he wonderful?
And why am I forget Adam? Isn't it something Adam?
Adam, he's Adam on Girls.
Oh, is that what it
So
is?
yeah, he's Adam on Girls. I don't think that's. Oh, we're terrible. Anyway, forgive us. The wonderful actor.
But yes, he's
His
tremendous.
he is his particular character development. Story wise,
Yeah.
he needed to have that
Yeah.
trauma in order for him to have some dark place to begin from to then grow out of.
Yeah.
And I think the same is for the young woman actor who is also really wonderful.
Yes, Ray, Daisy, something Daisy.
It's
Um,
wonderful.
but yeah, she kicked ass. She was
Yeah,
great. And I've
so
seen a lot
good.
of people hate on Kylo Ren's character. I thought it was tremendous. I loved it. There's a whole Twitter account which is actually hilarious called Emo Kylo Ren. It's really funny. It's
Aw,
totally spoofing him, but that aside, I think I love the character, like how just emotional he is and distraught, and it was heartbreaking to see that Han died. But I know that
yeah.
he didn't like playing that character anymore.
Oh,
So
really?
yeah, he's talked about how he didn't want to do it, and I know it was difficult in the beginning for J.J. Abrams to get him back.
Oh, that's so
So
interesting.
yeah, and I'm wondering if that was part of the allure to him coming back.
I don't think so. I mean, they couldn't have killed Luke Skywalker.
No, yeah, they
They really
couldn't.
couldn't have.
Yeah,
I think in the grand scheme of things, his character is probably the only one, as far as the our famous Trinity
Yes.
goes,
Yeah.
that could have been disposable in that moment. And I don't want to think of him as disposable, but you have to have some traumatic event in order for characters to develop and to rise. Unfortunately, that's just the way we work as humans.
Yeah. So it
So that
is.
was it. And of course, the theme of the son slaying the father is age old.
Yeah.
I mean, you can start with Zeus and Kronos if you want to go back that far.
You're such a nerdy brainiac. I love it.
I'm just saying,
Of
Chris. I'm
course you're
just saying.
going there. Of
Yeah,
course.
of course.
Like my wife will start talking about like something like Star Wars, and we'll end up like in the shamanic teachings of something or
Oh,
other.
of
And
course. I mean,
yeah,
that's obviously where it leads.
of course. Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. But where else would you go with it?
Yeah. No.
Yeah,
Yeah. I've learned. I've learned.
totally.
Um. But all right. So before we end, though, I mean, like I said, there was a million and one things we could have talked about. I feel good about what we did discuss, but
I see you looking at your list. Did we cover it all?
I mean, I only made like five things on the list,
All
and
right.
we covered more than that. But I'm wondering, like, is there anything we didn't talk about that you would like to close with?
Um, Gosh. I think the only thing that I wanted to mention was in the beginning.
In the beginning.
Um, I know that I reached out to you because you'd written an article. I think it was titled "Dogma Free Spirituality,"
Hmm.
and I just want to I think I want to close with that. That we're in a time and a place where dogma is no bueno anymore, and
Yeah.
gurus are not the thing. And they're not. They're just not. And I wanted to just say thank you to all the work that you're doing in that realm and empowering people to become their own masters and seek their own healing, because I think that this is the kind of work that is most desperately needed today.
Well, to that I say it's about goddamn time somebody recognizes me. Can you tell I suck at taking a compliment? My wife always, she's like, just take a compliment. Thank you. No, really, that means a lot.
You're
And coming from
welcome.
you, because I have such a deep respect for your
Yeah,
commitment to what you
you're
do. So,
welcome. Well, that was the
thanks.
first thing we connected on, and,
You're
and I
right.
think
It
it still
is.
remains the thing that
Yeah.
you know continues to make me want our friendship, the respect, our work
Yes.
together, everything. So
Agreed. We are
yeah,
we are certainly united in that front, and we are allies on the path. And it's
yeah,
nice to see that there's more of us out there. I'm thinking of the Adam Buckos, who's also in New York City, or Sarah Beeks, or Brad Warner's, and Noah Levine, of course. So that
mhm.
there's people out there on the front lines that are questioning the status quo of spirituality, and
Needs to happen.
yeah, I feel like it's starting to shift. I
Yeah,
hear a lot, and I see a lot written about spiritual bypassing these days. That's great. Now, hopefully, people start listening, and,
yeah,
and paying attention. So we'll see what happens. But until then, we're here, fighting the good
yep,
fight. So,
definitely.
all right, my dude, I thank you for your
Thank
time.
you. I
And
appreciate
it's
it.
always a pleasure. Congratulations on all the incredible things you have going on and your
Thanks.
engagement, which I just
Thank
found
you.
out about. That's rad.
Yep.
Um, so I will have your website and all your books linked up for the audience. But for anyone listening, is it alannak.com? A,
Yeah.
is that right?
Yeah.
I didn't write it down beforehand. I'm just going off. I swear to God,
Oh,
I'm going off
nicely
memory.
done.
alannak.com.
Yep.
All right.
Yep.
But we'll have it all linked up. So thank you very much, Alanna. It's a
A
real
pleasure.
pleasure.
Thanks, Chris.
Bye.
Bye.